Assalamualaikum dear students. I'm today just going to describe you the basics of AMOS software, and I just want to describe the interface and the main component of the graphical user interface of AMOS. So first of all, I just want to discuss that how you can open AMOS software. So just go to the search bar and here type AMOS. From here you get the software name AMOS Graphics and just click on open. So it's a graphical user interface of IBM SPSS, and by using this software you can analyze your data in terms of either dependence techniques or interdependence techniques. So in analysis of data or even in big data analysis, you can use this software. Now first of all, I just want to describe you the basic components of this software, and when we are going to learn this software, we have to discuss the contents of the toolbar which are mentioned on the left side of the of this window. These are three lines in the left side of the AMOS window, and these are known as the toolbars of AMOS. So we have to learn these icons one by one, and after that we have to see the commands in different menus of this software. So here is the menu bar. This is known as the title bar, and this is known as the menu bar, and this is the status bar. So first of all, we will see what are the options in file menu. From here you can create a new canvas for the development of a model, and even you can open new templates from here. If you have already developed any template, you can use it from here, or you can also open any already developed graphics from AMOS, and after that you have to save the file, and by using this save option and then selecting the location, and the file of the AMOS will be saved as input file .amw. So you have to click on save and your file will be saved. After that you have to see that how save as command will act. If you are you want to save your file with another name, you can click on save as. If you with the different name. Now if you want to analyze the data, and your data is either in Microsoft Excel or in Microsoft Excel or in other spreadsheet software, or even you can get the data from IBM SPSS. So when you are going to use any data file, you have to select data file. So just click on the file name, and then from your computer where your data sheet is located, you have to go there, and then you have to select that file so that you can perform other operations on that. In this way you can just go to that file, and you can use that file. So I'm just going to use the scm hbat_scm file with labels, and click on OK. Now this file has been selected for your operations. So the other thing, if you want to print the model, you have to just click on print, and from here you can print even your default model, or even you can print the output of your model. Now you have to select the standardized estimates, or the preview can also be seen from here. So this is the command to print your diagram. Anyhow, there are certain other files which already have been used in this software are mentioned here, and if you want to close or quit from this program, you have to just click on exit. The other thing in the menu bar is the edit command, and from here you can perform undo, redo, copy, paste, select all, deselect all, or even you can link, you can move. All these commands are for the graphical elements of your diagram, and from here you can select the components of the diagram, or you can select all the components of the diagram, or even you can deselect all the components. Even you can move the components of your diagram, and this is for the duplicate or making a copy of your diagram, and this is for deleting any object from the diagram. This is for the parameters. You have to move, you can move your parameters from here, and the other thing are rotate command, that is to rotate the shape of the diagram, and from here you can change the shape of the diagram, and this is related to the space horizontally or vertically, and this is for the dragging the properties from one object to another object, and this is for the clean touch up of your diagram. This, by using this command, you can make a clean diagram. So these are some certain commands in the edit menu, and in the view menu you can use you can view many things in this software. For example, if you want to click on the interface properties, here you can select the page layout, even you can use the formatting things, even you can select the colors, typefaces, pen width, and other accessibility options from here, and you can also select the page layout of portrait or landscape. You can select from here. Even if I select landscape, you can change the shape of the canvas. So these are the commands which are used to see the following things. For example, if you want to see the analysis properties, you can select on analysis properties, and from here you can select all these analysis like stuffs, and even you can see the variables in the model, or you can see the variables in the data set. All these commands will be used later on in my next video, where I will. So just now I am describing the main components of this software. So from here you can go for a full screen also, and the certain other things are related to the diagram. These are the objects of the diagram. There are main 4 objects in the diagram, and if you can observe here, this is to draw the observed variables. The rectangle shaped diagram is to draw the observed variables, or the measured variables. These are the variables which can be measured, which has been or had been measured already, and the circle or this shape of this shape is used to draw the circles, and these circles are basically to show the latent variable. These are the variables which are not directly measured. This is the arrow which is used to describe the relationships of 2 objects on the diagram, and this is the one side arrow, and from here you can select the relationship of 2 or more components on the diagram. And the other thing is the draw covariance, and this is to draw the covariances of two or more this is to draw the uh, two or more objects to covariate. So from here you can draw this. These are certain basics things in the diagram, and even you can select this option to caption the window, so you can give the name to your diagram as well. Just type the name of your diagram here, and you can select the formatting options also here. So just when we are going to discuss the components of these things, we can move them from here anyhow. And these are the certain components of this diagram. This diagram is to this option in the diagram menu, that is known as a draw indicator variable, can be used from here, and from here you can draw any indicator. Okay, this is to describe the component or the dimensions of any variable. So these are all things which are going to be discussed in further video to describe the usage of this software. Anyhow, these are certain things which are related to the output or the view of the diagram, and from here you can zoom in or zoom out, and here you can zoom the page, and these are certain options to redraw the diagram. These are to analyze the different properties of the diagram or from the from your operations. And here are certain tools, here are certain plugins, and even from there is also a help content in the software, and when you click on, you can even type any topic to see the description of that topic from here. So you can use the topic here, and then just double click on it, and the description of that topic will be appeared here. So you can learn this, how you can use this command. Anyhow, these are certain basic components of this diagram, this software. And even you can learn this software by another helping material, which I will upload on the Google Drive, and you can access that. You have to just I'm just opening the component of that, and this is known as this is the file with the AMOS concepts. And here are certain basics things which you have to learn before using this software. As I have told earlier, that this software is used to analyze the data, and when you are working with AMOS, you have to keep in mind the following rules. For example, rule number 1, variables are of two types in AMOS. First one is observed variable, and the second type is known as the latent variable. When we talk about the observed variables, these are the variables which are directly measured from respondents and represented by rectangle by this shape in the AMOS, while the other type, second type of variables in the AMOS are related to the latent variables. And these latent variables are those variables which are inferred or indirectly measured by the software or by yourself and represented by this circular shape. Anyhow, there are different names for these two shapes of the diagrams, and the first one is the circles. The circles can denote construct, factor, or latent variable. These are three different names of this circular type variables. which variables are mentioned by this shape. These can be named as latent variable, factor in factor analysis, or constructs in factor analysis. So the rectangles are basically the observed or measured variables. These are the items or questions in your data set. Okay, the rule number 2, that is variables are of two types. First one is dependent variable and the second type is the independent variables. Now first of all, when we talk about the dependent variables, these variables are also called as endogenous variables in AMOS, and the word indo, that is a Greek root and its mean in. That's anything which is getting in, that is known as indo. Hence these variables will contain an arrow towards them. Okay, any variable coming having arrow towards them is known as a endogenous variable in that diagram. Most of the time dependent variables are the variables who get arrow from other variables. So in that sense, endogenous variables are those variables who get arrows from other variables, who get effect from other variables. While the independent variables, these are known as the causal variables or explanatory variables. These are the variables who influence other variables but are not influenced by any other variables, and these are also known as exogenous variables, and in Greek root ex mean out. These are the variables who contain an arrow going out from them. So these are two main types of the variables: dependent variable, independent variable, and endogenous or exogenous variables. So the rule number 3, that is any of the circle or rectangle can be dependent or independent variable. From in the diagram you can use any of the symbol. For example, you can use this latent variable, or you can use this observed variable either as dependent or independent variable. So here are certain examples from, for example, here you can see that sale is an dependent variable which is caused by advertising, and here these two are observed variables. So sale is endogenous as well, and the advertising is exogenous variable. While we talk about this relationship, this motivation is a dependent variable here, and this is also known as a endogenous variable, and the incentives are exogenous variables, and these are observed variables, or these are measured variables. This relation is describing the performance and leadership, and here the performance, the dependent variable, are the endogenous variable that is influenced by a latent variable. This is the symbol describing the latent variable. So we can see here that either that variable is latent or observed, they can be dependent or independent. So it's not a rule just any specific shape will describe a specific relation. So there are other examples also. It's mean there is another rule, that is rule number 4, and it's every dependent variable must contain an error term. It's mean any dependent variable which is caused by any dependent variable, either that is endogenous, either that is latent or observed variable, that should have an error or residual variable as well. So when we are going to judge the effect of any independent variable on any dependent variable, we have to keep in mind the error or the residuals of that variables. So whenever you draw a diagram to depict the dependent and independent variable, you have to draw a residual on the dependent variable. Either that variable is latent or observed variable. So the other thing that is known as the rule number 5, it's none of the latent variable can exist on canvas without a box. It's mean every latent variable requires either an observed variable or called a zero order CFA or another called second order CFA. So any latent variable which is existing on the canvas that is containing any other variable, so there should be an arrow coming from other variables towards that latent variable. Rule number 6, the error term and at least one statement must have a regression weight of 1. It's mean when you add the different independent variable for the dependent variable, you have to remove uni identification problem, and then you have to fix a weight of one independent variable as 1. Here are certain assumptions in AMOS as well. The first assumption is related to the linearity of the relationship of the variables, and the second one is related to the type of the data, and AMOS just treat with the metric data only, and this metric data can be measured on just two scales, and these are ratio or interval scales, and this ratio measurement or ratio scales can be of Likert or as well or other scales. So no categorical variables, you cannot treat nominal or ordinal data on the AMOS. The third thing is related to the normality. It's mean your data is about to normal. The data which you are going to test in the AMOS, that should be a normal data. And the normal data mean the distribution of the data should be near to the normal distribution. The fourth thing which is related to the assumptions of analyzing data in AMOS, and that is related to the minimum number of statement in a construct. And when you are going to analyze, you have to determine how much variables are constituting for a construct, and there is a rule that minimum 3 questions or 3 statements should denote a construct. The rule number 5 is the sampling adequacy, and the sampling adequacy is a very debatable thing, and how much sample is required for AMOS. There are certain opinion on that, but you have to use an adequate sample. Now comes to the basic concepts of AMOS, and as I have told you this that AMOS just work on SPSS data files, and in the first step is always attach a SPSS data file in AMOS, and after that you should be there should be any missing values in the attached file, and handle the SPSS and attach clean SPSS file in AMOS. You should attach a file which has not missing values. Okay, and the third thing, you have to describe the graphical relationships of the variables, and you have to perform the statistical calculations in AMOS. These are the basic things related to the AMOS. Now comes to the component of the toolbar on the AMOS, and from here you can see that these are the main components which are mentioned on the AMOS toolbar. And here you can observe that while you are using the AMOS, you can observe that here are 3 columns. Here are 3 columns describing the different icons on it, and this is known as the toolbar of AMOS. And in this AMOS toolbar, here are 3 columns. first one is A, second one is B, and the C, and these are the rows, and here are, you can observe that here are 14 rows in the AMOS toolbar. So in column A, from here you can judge that this rectangle shape, as I have told earlier, this is the shape to draw the observed variables. This is the shape which is related to the path or the relation of the two components on the diagram, and this arrow is used to describe the relation of two components of the diagram. This is to give the caption or the title of your diagram, and this is known as a figure caption. This is to select one object. This is to make a copy of the object or even of the selected items on the diagram. Even you can make a copy of a whole diagram, and this is to change the shape of the diagram. This is to move the values on the parameters. Values are the parameters on any object, and this is to select the SPSS file. This is to copy diagram on canvas, and this is to see the object properties. This is to zoom an area. This is to entire diagram on one screen, and this is for the Bayesian statistics, and this is for undo. And in column B, this circle shape is to use to draw the unobserved variables, and this correlation or covariance, and this correlation or covariance, and this tool, this shape of icon is used for list variables in the model. This is for the objects, and this is for the moving objects on the diagram, and this is to rotate the indicator of latent variable. This is for to go to output window, and this is for to go to output window, and this is for drag properties from one object to another object. If you want to copy the properties of one object to another, you just click on it and drag the properties from one object of the diagram to another object. This is to zoom in, and this is to best fit the diagram on your canvas, and this is for multi-group analysis. This is for redo, and the icons in the third column are used to draw latent variable. This is for the development of a latent variable and the components of that latent variable along with residuals, and this is for adding a error term or residual term in your diagram, and this is to list all the variables in your attached file. This is for deselecting the object. This is to delete the object, and this is to flip object to 90 degree. This is to make the clean pattern of the diagram. This is to calculate the estimates. This is for saving the diagram. This is to preserve the symmetry. This is for zoom out. That is for examine, print, find. All these are the basic components, basic icons on the left side of the software. So one by one I am just going to describe the usage of this. For example, this is for dry and observed variable. You have to just click on here, and just here you should give the name. For example, you are going to use the organizational culture here, so you can use the name as organizational culture, but it's when you are going to draw an unobserved variable or a latent variable, you can use this diagram, this shape of the diagram, and this is, for example, organizational performance, so you can give the name here. Now this is to describe the relationship. For example, this is for this relationship, and this is another independent variable, and if you want to see the correlation of these two variables, you can draw it by this double head arrow, and by clicking on this you can use the uh, different shapes of this diagram, and in this way you can select the best shape by clean touch up. The other thing is for adding the error terms. This is to add the just one error term in the dependent variable, and if this is for selecting all the objects. By clicking on it, you can select all the objects, and by using this struct you can move the contents of the diagram. This is to delete the contents of the diagram by using this option, and when you take this icon here and the shape become red, then you will click and the object of diagram will be deleted. So the other thing is to make the copy. If you have selected certain things, you just make the duplicate of that by just clicking and dragging those things here. Now you can make the copy of this. So this is to change the shape of, this is for deselecting all the objects, and this is for the rotation. Rotate the indicator, and here are not indicator. This option is for drawing the indicators, and from here you can then see that we are able to draw the indicator, and from here you can rotate the indicators of any latent variable. This is to change the shape of the diagram, and from here you can change the shape of the diagram. Even you can use you can change the shape of a latent variable as well. So if your any variable has any parameter, for example you having a parameter of 1, you can just change the parameter by clicking and dragging here. So you can move the parameter. This is known as the parameter of that object, and this can be moved by using this command, move parameter values. So these are certain commands. This is to select data file, as I have told earlier, by clicking on it and on the file name, going to the contents of the file, SPSS file, and just selecting it, and after clicking OK you can select the file. And from here you can use the list in the variables, list of the variables in the data set, and by clicking this you can see the variables in the model. Okay, so these are certain things. This is to save the diagram. Just when you click on this icon, you will have a window for save option, and just give the name of the file here, and the diagram will be saved. So these are the basic concepts, basic things related to the diagram, and now I'm just going to select all the items on the diagram, and now I am just deleting them, and by deleting this I am just going to describe you a simple structural model to describe the basic functions of the AMOS. So if you are going to analyze a simple relationship in which two variables are and one is independent variable and the other one is dependent variable, and you are just going to add certain observed variable here. For example, I have a variable attitudes towards co-workers. I just put the commitment, so the organizational commitment. So these two variables are in the relationship of independent and dependent, and from here this variable is a independent, and the organizational commitment is a dependent variable. Now I am just going to change the shape of these variables so that the readability can be better. So I just change the shape of the variables. Now I'm going to just analyze the relationship. When we are going to analyze the relationship, first of all I have to save this file, and I am working on certain topics, and I'm just going to save this file. So I select a folder. I'm going to select a folder to save this file. So I'm just putting this file in a folder with the name of structural model 1. So I just save this diagram. So after that I just give the title of this diagram, and this is for regression analysis, and I give the title here and bold it. So this is simple regression. I'm just saving this and putting it here. Now I'm just giving the touch-up values. Even you can use a plugin that is Magic Clean, and you can use this Magic Clean to change the shape better. And now I just select on analysis properties, and from here in the analysis properties I am just going to use the maximum. In the estimation method I am using maximum likelihood, and I am using estimate means and intercepts, and in the output menu I am just going to use the direct indirect paths and standard estimates. And then I'm interested in covariances, correlations, and certain tests of normality and outliers. So just I have selected all these things, and after that I save it again, and now that this is the icon to calculate the estimates. So he is saying that you should add an error term in the dependent variable. So I'm going to add this error term, and in the error term I have to give the name to this error term, and when I'm going to give the name I'm giving it E1, error term 1, and now I'm going to analyze the properties of this relationship. So when you run this analysis you will get the output here. This is the second bar in the, this is the first bar which containing the toolbar, and this is the second bar which containing certain things. For example, here is the group name. In groups, if your data having more than one group, the group's name will appear here, and if you are running some many models, your models will appear here. And this is the types of the estimates. If you are just interested in seeing the standardized or unstandardized weight, you can switch from here. And these two icons are very interesting, and this is the icon which you are this is the icon to view the input path diagram models. That model which is in front of you is known as a input path diagram, and that is the output path diagram. So when you click on the output path diagram, you will see the things, see the estimates on the on this. So when you select on it, you get the paths, yeah, or the estimates, unstandardized estimates, and by clicking on the standardized estimates you will get the standardized estimates. So you can switch from the standardized and unstandardized estimates from here. And this is the summary of the analysis, and if you are going to see all the properties of the analysis, you can just click on the view text and you will get the output of this simple regression, and here you will go to the AMOS output file. So this is a output uh, of this analysis, and in this simple analysis you are I'm not going to describe you all the details relating to this output. I'm just going to describe the basic things of this. And from here you in the estimate you can observe here that these two variables where AC was independent and the OC was dependent variable, and the estimate was having standard error of 0.04, and the estimate orbit, which is the coefficient value of 0.263, and the critical or the t value of 5.50, and that is the alpha or the probability of that estimate. And this is in 3 stars, it's mean your estimates are significant. So you can see here that this relationship is significant, and the estimate is positive 0.263. It's mean when 1 unit increase in attitude towards co-worker, there would be a change of 0.263 in organizational that was organizational commitment. So there would be a 1 unit change in organizational commitment, and this relationship is significant. And this is the standardized regression weights. If your variables are having a different scales, then you can use these estimates of coefficients. This is the value of the coefficient of AC and OC. So this is also known as a beta in regression analysis. So this is the value of beta, this is the unstandardized value of beta, and that is the standardized value of beta. And when we are going to estimate the variance and variance of these variables, we can observe here that the variance of group 1 and the variance of AC is 0.892, and that is significant, and the error term variance is also significant. And this is the effect size, and here are basically this was a simple regression model. So then we should not focus on these values. These are basically for the mediating or intervening effect. After that you have to focus on the model fit, and these are the values of model fit. So the description of these all values will be in the next video. So thank you so much. That was the basics of AMOS.